If I said to you, please like me, talking about your generation and everything's going to be okay, what would you say is the common thread? Look, I realize you already know, but bear with me. The answer in just a moment. Please welcome the one and only Josh Thomas.
Hello. Hey, John.
Hey, Josh, thank you so much for doing this.
Hey, thanks for having me.
The pleasure is ours, I assure you. So I'm going to lob an easy one to start with. Where were you born?
I was born in Blackwater, in the middle of Queensland. But I never, I don't know what happens there. I left when I was 3 months old. It seems like very, very far away from my life. Do you know where it is? It's like, like Queensland is a
No.
triangle. Like it's hard to find like the center of a triangle. But if you try to find the center of Queensland, it would be like, it's like exactly there.
So did you grow up in Queensland?
I grew up in Brisbane until I was 19. Yeah, but I was born in central Queensland. You can tell.
Yes, well, I mean, it's been covered many, many times, but the accent.
What about it?
Is it a Queensland accent?
Oh, my accent is autism. It's like autism. It's like really common for people with autism to have like a slightly different accent. They don't like react with the accents around us in the same way other people do.
Well, now I feel really bad.
I don't.
Good. Were you out in your youth?
No, I came out in between season 1 and 2 of Your Gen. We were making
Really?
Your Gen. We made Your Gen director. You were the director. And I was straight in the first season. And then Your Gen really fucked me because we had we filmed all those episodes really like at the beginning of the year. And they roll out over like 6 months or whatever. And I got like a boyfriend in that period. And I was happy to like tell people, but we had filmed all these episodes of Your Gen that like were I was straight in them. And it just felt, I didn't really know what to do about that. Like quite awkward. Like we had me like doing things where I was like getting in, like playing games where I get in bed with like a model, like Erin McNaught or something. Do you remember? I think is that her name?
Yes.
And
I think it was.
It was like a thing, me like hitting on girls and stuff. And I mean, I was like into girls as a teenager. I was not like I'm not that really anymore, but and then yeah, so I had to like hold off coming out for Your Gen to finish airing and for the tour I was doing at the time to end because I didn't want to like write a new show.
Right. Well, tell us about Your Gen. I think you played dumb much of the time. Was that an act for leverage?
No, I've never pretended to do anything. People always talk about how dumb I was on that show, and I am like, I don't know anything about pop culture and was dumb, but like, so was every teammate I ever had. Like, we were like, it was a show about where you're getting questions about pop culture, and we haven't been around for as long as these people. And then they would kind of be like, no, a third of the questions are Gen Y, and like a third of the questions are Boomer, and a third of the questions are Gen X, but they were all alive for the Gen Y questions. And
Me too.
we weren't. So yeah, so I don't know, like, but I mean, I was like, I didn't know what people were talking about on that show.
See, for me,
most of the time,
because I know you are smart. You claim not to be at times, but you are smart. So I thought it was an act for leverage.
No, I'm smart in like my own way, but I'm not smart about pop culture or like we just did Spicks and Specs about 2 weeks ago, and you were directing that. They could have been talking Italian. Like I was just I did not know what was going on around me, and I'm like desperately just trying to find like an angle, like something I can talk about. And this like this got really hard for me in Your Gen after like season 4. I was like I don't know. When you don't know the answer, that was funny for a while. But then when I actually legitimately don't know what they're talking about, I've got nothing to add. You just like run out of. You can't. I can only ever play the like dynamic in the room.
Well, I've got to say, in Spicks and Specs, which people will see shortly, you are hilarious. So whatever you do.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I've probably never been as confused in my life as I was on that show. I was like the long. We finished and I was like, does that make sense to everyone else? But
It sure did.
The thing about panel TV is you can be sitting there a lot of the time. I think like the biggest like to be like okay at panel TV, you can be sitting there all the time and you feel like you don't have anything to add, and that's like that feels terrible when you have nothing to add. But after a while, you realize like a good performance on Spics and Specs or a good performance in a half hour panel show, you're probably on air for 2.5 minutes. Like really, like you probably have 2.5 minutes of jokes. There's 7 people up there, and there's a host who's doing a lot of time. So like you only need to do like 3 or 4 jokes, and you've done your job. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I do. I think you'll get more airtime than that.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is over the years I've got comfortable with just like if I don't know what people are talking about, just realizing like it's not my responsibility. This bit's not for me, and that's hard to like for a comedian to come to terms with.
Absolutely. Well, you came to terms with it very well, I have to say.
Was that quite mean?
No. When you do panel shows like Spics and Specs or Taskmaster even, is it a bit of an out-of-body experience, or are you thinking of what to say the whole time?
I care a lot about the energy in the studio. I think it's really important to like be alive for the studio audience and to like keep things moving. But I don't care if I embarrass myself in the studio. Like, so I have to trust that they're gonna pick the bits that are good. And I'm happy to just like offer and see what happens. I'm also really happy to like start something and have someone else get the punchline as long as like something happens. I have to filter. Like that's like a real thing. People talk about like people with ADHD and autism not having a filter, but it is like the experience of that is you're kind of finding out what you're saying as you say it. So I'm definitely not like in my head at all. Like the idea that like before you were saying that you're acting dumb, I just don't have you don't in that moment have a time to like be that cunning. Like I just like you just like I don't have any choice but to be authentic in the moment because and things are moving so fast as well. Like if you don't talk on a panel show in the bit where you want to talk about the thing, then you will never talk. So you just have to go. I guess it is like an out of body. It's just like you do end and I always feel so ashamed. Like I go in logically
Why?
knowing I go in logically knowing because I don't know if people understand, but when we film those shows, we film maybe an hour and a half, and they cut it down to what Speaks and Sexy would have shot 90 minutes. They cut down to 28 minutes, right? So two-thirds of what you do is going in the trash, and it doesn't matter at all. Oh,
You just set off balloons.
this 2/3 of what you do is going in the trash, and so I'm like fine with that. I like take risks and try and start things and try and play little games or whatever. We just see how it goes. But even though I logically know that's like the tactical plan, you do like at the end and you think about things you said and always feel so ashamed. And I always feel like sometimes I'll like start making fun of somebody because you're just trying to make something happen. And later I'll feel bad about that. Like over the years, I've definitely gone in. There's like one time where I was on Good News Week that still rattles around my head where the producer came up to me. It's very rare for a producer to go up to a panelist during a record.
True.
Tried to me twice, and both times to tell me to be nicer to somebody. One was to my guest on Your Gen, and the other time was on Good News Week, and they came up to me and they said, "Josh, you've got to go easier on Dr. Carl." I mean, I love Dr. Carl. I couldn't imagine a person ever being mean to Dr. Carl. Ever. He's like such an icon, so beloved, so sweet, so fascinating to listen to. And then I was like, oh, I had no idea that I was doing that. And that's like one of these things that I wake up and think about at like 3 a.m. all the time. There's some people who you can do that to. There's some people that you can't. And there's some people who will do it and then they get really upset. And you can see them like getting a bit upset. I mean, I can't. But like later, and when I replay it in my head, I can see it. And that is hard.
Interesting. Earlier, you said you don't care if someone else gets the punchline. And I think that's what we noticed on Spics and Specs, that you are very generous in that you will set things up for other people.
Yeah. Which you have, like, that's what you, because me, I love panel TV, right? Panel TV is like, I stand up. I don't really watch anymore. I find it hard to watch scripted comedies, but panel TV I can still like. I just love it. But what is great about panel TV is is the dynamics between the people. Like, you want to feel like you're at a games night. You want to feel like you're with your friends, and you want to feel you're hanging out. I feel like a lot of panel TV gets criticized for like using the same people over and over again. Anytime you watch a UK panel show, it's the same people over and over again. But there is a reason for that. It's because you feel like you know these people and that it's like company, and that's like that is like something that panel TV is sort of supposed to do. It's like the joy of it is you feel like you're hanging out with a group of people that are friends and that know each other. So you want to see that like interaction. So you want to. It's not a good. I don't think it's a good show if everybody's just talking through the host all the time. You want to see a sort of family dynamic, and sometimes that's like a bit of tension between somebody. Maybe it's like you see two people are like best friends or something. But I think is important. So I don't want to just be doing my bits and then ending and then somebody else talks, because that's not what's fun about watching panel TV to me.
Was Tag your first panel?
No, I was doing Good News Week before that.
Right. And what was it like with Amanda and Charlie on that show?
Me and Sean only really would have conversations about like, because we don't want to be fighting all the time.
Yes.
So
I mean, that's a good example of manufactured tension. No, you and Sean have a great admiration for each other.
Yeah, so we really like each other, but we like sparring with each other. Like that's fine. Like we've never I don't think me and Sean on the show ever seen like we have like sincere tension, but we would realize that you can't do that joke every week. So we would decide sometimes that like we were really excited to see each other that week or whatever, and we would sometimes have a conversation like that. But basically, I'd say like, I just don't think we should. I think this week we should not fight, just because it's gonna get so boring. And I totally agree. And then me and Charlie would fight sometimes. I always felt a bit more organic. And Amanda, I never. The other thing about the really tough thing about panel shows a lot of the times is you can't. It's just so boring. But I often can't see. Usually you can't see half the cast because it's not set up for me to be able to look at them. So Amanda, I really have no idea what she did on the audition. Like, I love her. She was great. I've seen her on the show. She's really funny. But in studio, I had no idea what was going down at end.
With Sean, do you still speak?
I mean, not really. He's like a 60-year-old man. We're not hanging out. He's not coming down. He's not coming. How old is he? We're not going down the club together. No, we're not going to the wine bar. I mean, I really like him.
You and Joel Creasy got confused for each other quite a bit.
He was just starting.
Yes.
And he would get confused for me a lot. And then I don't do that much anymore. And now people come to me all the time and they say, "Hey, you're Joel Creasy." And I quite like it, because if they think I'm Joel Creasy, then I don't have to be that polite, because they're not going to go and say like, "I met Josh on the street, he was really rude." They're going to go and say, "I met Joel Creasy on the street, he was really rude." So I'm just like terrible. It's really free.
Does the reverse ever happen? Does Joel ever get recognized as you and say something?
I don't know what he does when he gets recognized as me. I think he's more recognizable than me now, so I'm sure he's delighted.
You, as you say, you've been overseas, so let's talk about the path to overseas. Please Like Me. You are an executive producer, as well as star, writer, and sometimes director. How was that process?
I mean, I didn't know I was the boss on Please Like Me until season 2. They started calling me, like, I was making all the decisions, but I didn't sort of realize. I sort of thought they were all just like being really generous to me or something. I didn't realize I was the showrunner, which is not like a term we used to use in Australia, and it's sort of term I knew existed. Until season 2, they started sarcastically calling me boss. And I looked over and I said, "Wait, am I the boss?" Like, yeah. I was like, "Oh shit. Okay." Well, yeah, it makes a lot of sense, I suppose. I had like a real idea what I wanted that to be, and I feel pretty lucky that they let me do it. Debbie Lee was the network executive at the time, and she just like got it. And a lot of other people didn't get it and didn't want to do it. And a lot of other people found it hard to look past your gen and found it hard to imagine me doing long form content as a little doggy.
Yes.
So she believed in it, and Todd, the my producing partner, believed in it, and
yes, Matt Saville directed and Todd Abbott produced with Lisa Wong.
Yeah, I guess I was just saying I'd never been on a set before. The first time I ever was on a set was on a scripted set, was my own show. And I never acted before. Nobody really knew if I could act. And nobody really knows still, but I could act enough. I could act enough. That was really lucky. I don't. That was just because those other people they believed in it a lot more than I did. I never really thought anybody would give me a show, and I think it ended up being a really valuable thing in the show because I was so obsessed with trying to keep things realistic as much as possible, and I was so focused on what the world should be and just the creative, and I didn't really understand the technical side, and because of that, I don't know, there was lots of things that they do in TV production that are a bit false that I would look at and I'd be like, we're not doing that, and they'd be like, this is how it's done, and I was like, well, look, it doesn't look good, and everyone really liked that, and the crew was really on board with that. Matt was really on board with that. I wasn't carrying any baggage of having been on set for so long, and now I do. Now I'm very aware of how to make things efficient.
Well, from my perspective, that would be very freeing, not worrying about the technical stuff and just wanting it to be authentic.
Well, I mean, they have to worry about the technical stuff, so they would always be like, "But how do we can't do that. We can't and I'd be like, sure we can. Yeah, we can. And one of the big things was eating, was food. It's such a big part of that show. And this is I cannot remember, it was so long ago, but an example of the kind of thing I'm talking about is you usually wouldn't eat in a scene.
Yeah.
And you would have the food and everything, but it was such a big part of the show. And I was like, no, they need to eat. And we need to reset plates, and the actors need to eat, and I want to see them chew, and I want to see them swallow food. And that's not that normal. That's not normal. And it was things like that we did that I think really.
Well, the eating, you're right. It's generally not done because it becomes a continuity issue.
It's a continuity issue, and I was just like, no one has ever looked at that. Nobody's looking at that, and they're not. It doesn't matter. Stuff like that. Yeah, we didn't do really firm blocking, and we wouldn't ever set the blocking up for camera, which is so now that I'm directing, of course I'm coming in with blocking and giving it to the actors, and it's designed for camera. But poor Matt, I was like, no, the actors will go where we think they should go, and you'll move the camera. And which he loved. You got into it, but that's quite odd. But there's so much stuff in that show that's visually quite weird, and it's because I just refused to change to move an actor for a camera.
I think that's what gives it the authentic quality, is that you did things that aren't generally done.
With a complete lack of experience, like a child prince making these demands that really could have gone either way.
Now that you're a showrunner, do you find that acceptable?
What, when we're making the shows?
Like the bending of the so-called rules.
My second show was in America, which was Everything's Gonna Be Okay, and that you just cannot. You just cannot. I mean, it's so unionized, and there's all these rules are really specific. You cannot light a birthday candle without hiring an extra person of staff, an extra person on crew. So I'm not hiring an extra crew member for the day to blow out a birthday.
We're going to get to that show and your American experience, but it sounds
it was quite
very
a different.
rigid.
It was quite a different process. And in Australia, I would do it the way we did it, which was just that I mean, please like me. We were cooking the meals in the kitchen, in the house kitchen. There would be someone from the production department who's not a cook, that just sort of has a recipe they like, and they would be cooking it for dinner. I would often be cooking in between
Wow.
setups and stuff. I would just go and muck around with the sauce and just like get a bit into it. How annoying. For
That's
that.
great.
But I would just like go and chop some onions or whatever. So like, yeah, you're not doing that in America. But here I would want to a little bit.
Okay, so in that show, Please Like Me, it starred, amongst many others, Thomas Ward, Deborah Lawrence, Caitlin Stacey, David Roberts, many others we know and love. And there was this person, Hannah Gadsby, who's a friend of both of ours. Her is now stratospheric after Nanette.
Good on her. She's doing well.
Now, I'd like to read you the IMDb synopsis of Please Like Me. 20-something Josh is going through a number of big changes as he navigates his first decade of adulthood. After being dumped by his girlfriend, he comes to the realization that he is gay. Anything to add?
Do you know? I mean, we wrote that, right? I remember being in some meeting where we like couldn't figure out what age to put. That 20-something was such a that was an email chain. I do you know I had one semester of sort of film school, and I did a group assignment, and someone pitched this show where like a guy just woke up one day and realized he was gay. It's like a short film, and I was like, this is so fucking stupid. And then I was thinking about that recently, and that's kind of what I did.
Well, you did a comedy show, Please Like Me, did you not?
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's very different. He was like the guy had like some like a curve put on him or something. I realized it was like very odd. But in the end, we ended up, because what happened was, Please Like Me, we started making when I was straight. We started pitching Please Like Me, like putting it together with Todd when I was like dating girls. So then I was gay. Then I came out, and then I had fell in love with this boy, which is like kind of true to the show, and we had to change it. So we don't talk about being gay that much in the show. Like, he's gay, but we don't like talk about it that much. And it's sort of because the show was never really about that. Once Josh gets together with Jeffrey, there's like 3 scenes where they talk about it, and then it's just relationship after that. And it's because it used to be a woman, which was like actually another like thing that worked out being like such an important part of why people like that show, was that we didn't treat this gay story with these like very tiring stakes and the way so many gay shows do. They just want to talk about being gay all the time, which actually is so boring for a gay audience because we're all gay. We get it. We don't need to talk about it very much. We've got to like get past it and get into the emotional weight of being alive.
That's why I found it a little odd in the synopsis that in that brief synopsis it was mentioned.
Yeah, it's a weird reading synopsis. But you know, we would have written. Me and Todd would have written a draft of it. I would have been so annoyed that I was looking at a synopsis because I really hate them. And then we would have sent it to a publicity person, and so a publicity person would have edited it. And then it went to America. So that might have even been the American network's synopsis,
right,
which would be like some version of what we started that I would have had no approval over. Yeah, because also it's nothing about mental health in there, which is like what that show is about.
Yes.
Which always shocked me when I did the press. For years and years and years, I'd do the press, and everybody would want to talk about the fact that this guy is gay and not that his mum tried to kill herself in the pilot.
Yes.
The fact that he kissed a boy was like bigger news, a bigger talk topic back then. I mean, a different era. No one would want to ask about it now. But back then, the fact that the lead was gay and kissed a boy in the first 10 minutes was like such a big conversation. And I really thought the fact that we were doing a comedy where in the middle we had like pretty realistic conversations about suicide would be the thing that everyone chatted about. And they did, like, by season 3, I started doing interviews where people would ask about that. But mostly they just wanted to talk about kissing boys.
Well,
which I love talking about.
Of course. Priorities are an interesting thing. What did that show do for you?
I mean, I got another TV show. I mean, professionally or creatively?
Yeah, I mean, how has fame affected you? And yeah, what did Please Like Me do to your life?
I mean, it just was everything, wasn't it? I had a job, I had money, I had confidence. I learned how to make TV shows.
Right.
Like I didn't know before then, which I mean everybody kind of has to learn by being on set, I think. But um
Well, we do to a certain extent, but
like
not as visibly as you do.
I was like, oh, I have a point of view.
Yep.
Like, I mean, I was 21 or something when we started working on that. So it was like really like after we made the show, I was really like as the show develops, working out kind of what I think about the world. So that was kind of interesting. Interesting to have done that and not really gotten in much trouble.
So why did you move to the States?
Oh, I got a show there. I moved to the show, but then we did 2 seasons, but it was like a lot of things in the process were really slow. And things just kept getting delayed and stuff. It's like I guess they do. So I was like working on that or waiting for someone to do a contract for the whole time I was there until like 2021.
Right. Did Please Like Me get you the heavy hitting management, UTA?
It got me meetings. I mean, Please Like Me was like in like to TV nerds in America. Please Like Me was a big show. Like they do like these lists at the end of the year. So they do like top 10 shows of this year, and in like 2 separate lists, Please Like Me was between Mad Men and Orange Is the New Black. Like it was like fourth in like Time magazine and stuff. Like it was, yeah, it was like a TV nerds show. So I could get the meetings to pitch a show. And I'm incredible at pitching. John, I'm amazing at pitching. I made 2 separate network executives cry in that pitch on that show. I mean, I'm stunning at it. So I could get the meetings and then and then we would go and...
So we're talking about Everything Is Going to Be Okay, which you did in America, and it tracks siblings dealing with the untimely death of their father. It has a lot of important themes, like Please Like Me. You created it. You were the showrunner and filled many other tasks. What were your jobs?
I mean, I was just showrunner and actor, but then season 2 I was directing, but only because of COVID. Really.
Right.
We were filming like right in the super peak. I think we were like, I think for a week we were like one of the only shows filming. And we just wanted less people on set. So I directed some episodes. I directed half of it. Did I direct half of it?
Yeah, I think you did.
Yeah, basically because I was there.
You're making me feel really good about myself.
Well, I mean, I'm on. Yeah, well, I usually have someone else because I'm acting in it, and I don't think anybody needs more of me on that set. But in COVID, it kind of tipped the scales.
Yeah,
showrunner, which is right.
You were obviously showrunner. You were obviously the lead in it, but it was all you. You created it.
Yeah, I mean, I do a lot. I do a lot of like most of my time on set is we write it before we shoot, which is not that typical, especially in America. It's like extremely weird, and actually it was really hard. Because I'm in all the scenes, we have all the scripts before we're in the scenes, and then when we're filming, most of my time is like with the ADs scheduling. That's
really
most of my time is doing that and doing phone calls to network executives, and then approving sets and everything and costumes. But I try and like trust people that we hired to do that stuff, so like those meetings usually aren't that long. But no, a lot of time with the ADs. Yeah, well, they're very low budget shows, and they're both shows that the only real thing that they're offering is dialogue and performance. Like there isn't a lot else. Like that, there's no car chase. There's no like that. That's not like, it's nice enough scenery, but like it's not what you're coming to the show for. It's not like White Lotus, or there's no. It is just dialogue and performance. So if we spend too much time doing too many camera setups or too complicated camera setups, and the actor's time gets crunched, and we don't get the performance, then it's going in the trash.
So,
yeah,
I think you're really diminishing your importance as a showrunner on that show. Everything's going to be okay.
No. I'm not. I did lots of stuff. I just like I when we get into actual production when we're filming, like pre-production stuff. I mean, I'm doing it all, but I do like I sort of realize that going through and checking how many setups and look, say it's going through the plan and saying, do we really need to turn around on this scene? It's 5 lines of dialogue. Can we do it from one side, please? It's just great for everybody.
Do you feel that as director as well?
Yeah. Because I like am coming at it from like the point of view of an actor, I suppose. I want to make sure that I mean it's literally me actually that I'm getting time to find why the scene's funny and do all this stuff. And if someone wants to put the camera on Steadicam, like of course let's do it if there's a reason. Also, I'm editing, so like I know like I know like sometimes when you've got you've got a director just having a conversation before, I kind of know like because I'm sure it's very frustrating to them, but then going in and building the show and doing all that stuff, but it's me that ends up giving it. So if there's stuff that
Absolutely.
I just know is not going to get used, that's like better to have that conversation. And I'm like pretty lucky because we don't have a writer's room going in the edit suite going. In America, that's crazy. So we have an edit suite going, but I'm not in it. And we have a writer's room going, but I'm not in it. But usually a showrunner would be doing the writer's room, the set, and the edit at the same time. But because I'm in it, we got to not do that.
So you already touched on this, but what are the big differences you notice between filming in Australia and in the States?
I mean, the really the main thing is that it's the same. And like it's eerily the same. It's all the same kind of people doing the same kind of roles. They're all like they're like real archetypes, and they've all got the same personality. And I mean, America has like a different idea about authenticity that I found a little hard, in Australia. Like they wouldn't like I would ask them to make a room messy and they would put like a basket of folded laundry on the
Right.
bed and stuff, like they just have this TV idea that like I found it hard to break through. The rigidity of the union rules on set is like so necessary in America. Like it's so necessary because when I saw it, like I was in it, like they are just like they're making so many shows. They're like factories, and they're factories that are owned by giant corporations who are just always trying to make their factory more efficient, and they just need to elbow out and make space. And it just needs hard and fast rules so that you're not just constantly fighting to for basic things that you need. Occasionally it's frustrating when you're just like, we can't light a candle on a birthday cake. It's just so stupid. But 95% of the time over there, it's super important. But you are like moving you're trying to like maneuver a bigger beast all the time to get to like a very small moment. You're trying to film like a very small, intimate moment. And in America, you are like trying to get to that small, intimate moment with like not a scalpel, with like
Massive machine.
an axe. Yeah. In retrospect, that was kind of tricky, but also just the amount of people, which I guess is the same thing as that giant machine, but just the amount of people. I mean, I go to a sound mix in Australia. It's me, Todd Abbott, the producer, Matt Saville, the director. So 3 of us, 1 sound mixer. Over there, you're like in, looks like Star Trek, There's like 4 levels of desks, and they're all in the room. There's like, I think there's maybe 12 of them. I remember the first time I did a notes call, there's, I think, 16 people on the call.
Wow.
Which is so silly. I mean, it's the first one, so everyone shows up. Like, it whittles down over time. But I just was like, how could this possibly be useful?
Did you find that your voice as the creator was listened to?
Yeah. But you can't, like, I'm so stubborn and I'm good. I'm Yeah, my biggest skill is notes, meetings, and pitching. That's my biggest. That's like my top line skill. It's the
Right.
two things I'm best at. After like 52 episodes of television, you just get really good at you. Like at the beginning, I'd be like, "This would be cool to do. Let's do it," and I would kind of instinctually know why it'd be interesting. But you have to really learn how to get everybody on the same page. You have to like manage up about everybody why it's cool. The network executives and also your crew and your actors need to understand why you think it's cool. So like such a big part of the job becomes not the writing, but like articulating why it's good to people is as much work as the writing. And if you can't do the second half, and that's like the way you like articulate it to people, then that which like so many people can't, especially writers, like especially like writers can like often write something and know why they think it's great, but sort of not know how to pitch it. If you can't do that second half, then you don't ever get to do the first half. And that's like a real skill that I've had to learn over the years, especially because Please Like Me had two networks. They both were sending separate notes. So
Right.
I was like getting double notes on every episode. Um, which is a lot of that's a lot of
And
notes.
what's your typical response when you're given notes? Do you eye
I
roll
like
or do
notes.
you see them?
I prefer to get my notes in advance because you always have an emotional reaction where you want them to die, which is like not actually how I feel, but it's always just like your first reaction. I like notes. The fact is you don't get many outside people that care about the show looking at your work as you go on. The people that you get at network executives, they're smart people. They have that job for a reason. I mean, honestly, I've only ever had one stupid network executive, and they know who they are. And I often don't agree with the note, but if it's being noted, then there's something wrong with it. There's something wrong, right?
Right.
Um, like so maybe they're saying on page 17, this page is boring, and I'll be like, no, it's not boring. This is like a moment of peace after we've been through so much, right? This like breath, this moments of peace, this moment of intimacy between these two people where they're not saying much is the point of this page. How do you not fucking see that? I'll think. And then I'll go, well, they don't see it. There's two reasons why they might not see it. One, maybe I just didn't put it in the stage directions. Maybe I didn't say, finally, a reprieve from the chaos. We enjoy a moment of peace. Sometimes you just write that in and they get it and they're like, oh my God, of course, that's so beautiful. Or maybe I didn't do the chaos. Maybe I'm like, actually, the first 15 pages before this, that was supposed to be really chaotic before this moment of peace, I'm just sort of actually I like fine. Like they're reading it, they're enjoying it, but it's not stressing them out the way I need. So let's like go back and really like make sure we're building to this moment. So when you get to page 17, then that's working. So even though I might not agree with what they're saying, I always try and believe that there's an issue and try and figure out what the issue is. And sometimes the answer is to just communicate it better, to keep it the way it is, communicate it better. And then the other thing that's so important for me in the creative process, like a notes process, is at the beginning when we have the idea, and I know why it's cool, and everybody in the room knows why it's cool and why we want to do it, not staying true to that. But if that's not working, like knowing from the beginning, like this is what we're trying to do in this episode, so that if they're saying like things aren't working or whatever, be like, I'm trying to get to here. So how do we like keep that same goal, but manage all the other notes? I don't know if that makes sense. After me talking about how good I am at articulating, I don't know if that makes that much sense. But
It makes a lot of
understanding
sense.
this is the point, this is the premise, this is the knowing what your kind of North Star of each episode of what point and also the show is, and knowing not to compromise that, but being able to take the notes and move other things around to get there the whole time, I think is really clarifying. A lot of people get notes, freak out, change everything, and then they sort of end up with something that wasn't anybody's because they've forgotten why the idea was great in the first place.
Yes. It's a very
And
good
that's
lesson, actually, because you do have an emotional reaction at first, but often they are pointing out something that a different pair of eyes can see that you can't see.
Yeah, or you just like, maybe you just haven't been clear as well. Occasionally, they'll have something in their head, an expectation that you never had, and then you just have to be like, I'm not changing anything, and you have to because they thought it was going to be maybe they really loved an idea that was in the pitch that you had to get rid of because turns out it was a bad idea. That can be like tough. That's like a tough notes call because they just keep wanting the initial thing and you can't do it, especially when you're editing with
Yes.
images. When you're like the actual edit, often they want things that you don't have.
You get a lot of notes after you shot, and then you have to try and mold what you have.
Yeah, of course. You get notes at every notes all the time. You get three rounds of notes in the edit. That's always interesting because you are sometimes like I will often have to go into those meetings and be like, I know that this scene isn't that good. Like I know that the scene isn't that good, and they'll be like, it's not that good. I'm like, I know. Um, I can't. I haven't. It's not there. Like I don't know. So like yes, it's not. I wish it was funny. It's not funny. There's no funny performances. Maybe it was me, and maybe I just wasn't very good that day, or maybe it was another actor. Um, and sometimes you just have to do that. And sometimes that's the easiest thing is to just say like, this is not a good minute. I need to keep it because I need this person to do this and this person to do this. And I'm sorry. Sometimes I do that. And sometimes in writing, they'll want things that I don't know how to do. And
Mm-hmm.
that's like, I'll be like, look, I bet it'd be great. I don't know how to do that for you. It's like not my taste. So like, I don't know how to do that. And that usually is fine. Just being like honest. But most of the time, I can just try and understand what they're missing and figure that out.
It's really interesting. It's a good lesson to people trying to write a series.
Yeah. Also, I am super honest all the way, which is how I run my notes, which other people don't do. A lot of people will say, "Let me look at that," and then not do the note, and I don't think it builds good trust. I feel like building trust with the network executives that I am listening to them, and then I'm trying to find a solution is really helpful for when you get to those like much harder conversations where we're just really not agreeing on something.
Getting back to where we started, we've seen you lately again on shows such as Taskmaster and Spicks and Specs. Is after everything's going to be okay, is there a feeling of all care, no responsibility? You can just appear and be Josh Chalmers.
Yeah, I've always felt like that on pedal shows though, but just out of like a delusion, like because I mean, Good Music, I was on Good Music, I think 19. I was there. I was their most booked guest, and there is just like something about being that age. Like boys don't have their amygdala. Like it's not fully processed, right? And like some young guys drive cars really fast. And I just was on panel shows, not really like aware of like the risks and not really concerned about what I was doing. Like just like having fun, working hard, like trying to be funny, but like not like there was no like, I don't know, there wasn't like that. My frontal cortex was never like getting in the way of so I've always been like, I care more now than I did then. Like way more worried now. Because my brain developed.
Well, given that, do you ever look back at your old appearances?
No, no. I thought about watching an episode of Pure Gen recently, and then I realized no. And I won't watch Spicks and Specs. Sorry, no offense. But I don't watch. I won't. I don't watch me anymore unless like I had to watch Taskmaster because social media is such a big part of it. But I won't watch any of my stuff back. I don't want to now.
So, talking about your generation has recently been rebooted with Ann Edmonds as host. Do you have any feelings about how the new take on it will play out?
I think Anne will be really good. I think that's a good choice for hosts. They needed somebody that has like their own specific voice. Like she's kind of the same type of person as Sean. The others would be good. I don't have like, I don't know this is an offensive thing to say, but your jam was like, for me, like such a small part of my life. Like we would like when you were talent on that show, you just turn up, you were there for 6 hours and everybody else has to do the work and like has ownership. I don't have like a soul connection to what they do to like my baby with that show, because it was like, for me, that was like just a really fun thing that we did. It wasn't like up to me.
Got it.
I was just a pawn, wasn't I?
What did you know going into your Gen each episode? Were you told anything?
No. It was so secret. They'd keep it so secret. So we knew absolutely nothing, which like I, by the end, got really frustrated by, because I did get to a point where I just like, I don't know what any of these things are, and I don't know how to like make a different kind of joke. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was just starting to feel like a bit like I was just being really repetitive, and I would not feel that way these days. These days, I just feel so happy that I get to go do a job where you just show up and play games. But I was like really wanting to like do something creative and a bit more impact, which I did do, but I was wrong to think that doing something that's just playful and fun was like not valid. Like, that's so valid.
That's sort of what I meant. Got to do something creative, but you didn't have the whole production riding on your shoulders.
No, yeah, and also, yeah, I wasn't allowed to know what's happening, so there was no prep, and it's not like I got to look at the edit. I just see it, and people liked it. That was easy. That was a sweet gig. My first gig, it was a sweet gig.
Have you moved back to Australia, or are you just on a break?
No, I moved back, but I'm going to LA this week for Asia, so I haven't moved. All my stuff is there.
Well, I have to tell everyone that Josh has been extremely generous with this.
I gotta go. I gotta take my mum to mini golf.
I have to thank you so much for doing this. It really has been insightful.
Thanks, John. Thanks for having me. I hope that made sense.
I learned a lot, actually, and I'm really keen to
Did
see
you?
what you... Yes, I did. And I want to see what you do next. Like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.